Hello, it's Miss Bianca here. Welcome to day 3 of the San Diego Unified Visual Arts and Performing Arts online video series. We are going to be discussing a lot about theater today. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to say, I can use my body as an actor. I can pantomime. I can warm up my body, voice, and imagination. So let's get started. But first, it's time for a recap. Let's review what we learned last week. We talked about using an acting voice. We have to pay close attention to 3 things. 1, our rate. We want to make sure we're not speaking too quickly or too slowly. Number 2, our projection. We want to make sure everyone in the room can hear us. And number 3, clarity. We want to make sure that we are speaking very clearly and pronouncing all of our words. Also, expression. We want to make sure that we're expressing what we want to express when we're saying the words on stage. Now you know what time it is. It is time for our warm-ups. We will start with our imagination exercise. So make sure that there is plenty of room around you to move around. So for our imagination warm-up exercise, we are going to role play as if we're doing a certain activity. Today, our activity will be cooking. So remember, you don't want to actually cook, you just want to imagine that you're cooking. And you want to do all of the actions that you would do if you were cooking. On the count of 3, get started. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Imagine you are cooking a wonderful, huge meal for everyone in your home. You want to make sure to get out all of your ingredients first. Maybe you want to smell some of those ingredients. Maybe you're looking for something in particular and you can't find that object. What type of spices will you need for your dish? What types of fruits and vegetables do you have to go in the refrigerator? And how far back in the refrigerator do you have to reach to get your fruits and vegetables? What about the liquids you will use? How many liquids do you have to take out of the refrigerator to use for your dish? Now before you start cooking, do you have all of your ingredients? Maybe check one more time. Now, do you have all of the instruments that you will need to complete this dish? Do you have your mixing bowls? Maybe you may need a pot and a pan. Or perhaps you may be cooking or baking in the oven. Maybe you need to take out some of the cake pans. So after you have all of your tools and instruments, now you can start preparing your ingredients. Maybe you need to mix some things together. Maybe you need to add a bit more spice. Or maybe you need to turn on the stove. But be careful, the stove is really hot. So maybe you're whisking or you're mixing. Maybe you're adding a little bit more spices. Perhaps you are getting your pizza dough ready to put in the oven. Or perhaps you're tossing a little bit of your salad to get it yummy and ready to go. No matter what, make sure that you're using all of the ingredients you need to use to make this meal a success. And scene. So if you're running slow motion, you want to make sure that you're using all of your muscles to show clearly that you're running in this marathon. So run extremely slowly. Lift every muscle extremely slowly, as though you're moving through water. And even slow down the emotions in your face and your facial expressions. And if you turn your head to look at someone to your left or to your right, make sure that you do that in slow motion. And when you're crossing the finish line, imagine you are crossing the finish line for the very last steps and scene. Excellent job, actors. Now that our imaginations are warmed up, let's focus on a warm-up to prepare our voices. First, we are going to count to 10 using our diaphragm. Remember to put your hands on your stomach and push at the same time that you're saying the number. On the count of 3, let's count to 10, but start very quietly and then get louder as we reach the number 10. On the count of 3, let's start. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now we're going to go backwards. Let's start with 10 and then get quieter as we go. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And scene. Good job, actors. Now we are going to practice our tongue twisters. Today our tongue twisters will be Unique New York and Knapsack Straps. Let's start with Unique New York. We are going to say it 6 times together. On the count of 3, let's start. 1, 2, 3. Unique New York, 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 Unique New York. Excellent job, actors. Now let's try that again, but a little bit faster. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Unique New York, 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 Unique New York. Excellent job, actors. Now let's try our second tongue twister, Knapsack Straps. On the count of 3, we will say it 6 times together. 1, 2, 3. Knapsack straps, knapsack straps, knapsack straps, knapsack straps, knapsack straps, knapsack straps. Excellent job, actors. Now, let's try it again, but a little bit faster. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Knapsack straps, knapsack straps, knapsack straps, knapsack straps, knapsack straps, knapsack straps. Excellent job, actors. Now our voices should feel a little bit warmer. Now let's do a warm-up to prepare our bodies. We are going to start with our head. We're going to put our head up. Now put your head down. Put your head up and put your head down. Now let's move our heads side to side. Head to one side. Now put your head to the other side. Head on one side. Put your head to the other side. Now let's go all the way around. All the way around with our heads and our necks. Now switch directions. Excellent. Now let's focus on our arms. We are going to move one arm in a huge circle. And we're going to do it 5 times. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now let's switch to the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's do 4 on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now 4 on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now switch. 1, 2, 3. Switch. 1, 2, 3. Switch. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, and stop. Excellent job, actors. Now let's do the same thing, but only moving our wrist. So we are going to move one wrist 5 times. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Switch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Switch. 1, 2, 3. Switch. 1, 2, 3. Switch. 1, 2. Switch. 1, 2. Switch. 1, 1, and stop. Excellent job, actors. Now we're going to bend our knee. Bend one knee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now bend the other knee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now switch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Switch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Switch. 1, 2, 3. Switch. 1, 2, 3. Switch. 1, 2. Switch. 1, 2. Switch. 1. Switch. 1. And here. Excellent job, actors. Now our body should feel a little bit warmer. actors, now that we have warmed up our bodies, let's talk about how to use our bodies on stage. An actor has to pay close attention to their bodies and everything your body may be telling the audience while you're on stage. You want to make sure you use every part of your body to tell the story. An actor can use two tools to use their body to tell the story on stage. One, gestures. Gestures are body movements that we can use as an actor to show an emotion on stage or to show an idea. Gestures allow us to use different parts of our bodies to act out our characters. Number two, facial expressions. You can use different parts of your face to show an emotion or to show an idea or to help you tell the story. Now, facial expressions on stage should be bigger than they are in real life because you want to make sure your audience can see them. And your stance. We will call this stance actor's neutral stance. This means you're standing on both of your feet with even weight on both of your feet. You're not standing to the side, not with legs crossed, not leaning on one hip or the other. You want to make sure that you're standing on both feet. Now, there is a type of theater that we can use to tell a story on stage. This type of theater is used when we are only using our bodies to tell a story, but we're not using any words. This is called pantomime. Pantomime is when we use all of our bodies, including our facial expression, gestures, any type of body movement to tell a story on stage. There are some rules to pantomime. Number one, be consistent. If you pantomime an object, make sure it's the same size each time. For example, if I'm pantomiming a ball, I need to make sure that that ball is the same size every time I pick it up. You don't want the size of the object to change, then it won't look realistic. Number two, exaggerate all of your movements. When you pantomime, you want to make your movements larger than life or larger than they would be in real life. This is to clearly show what you're doing, especially since you can't use your words. You also want to exaggerate your expressions. So any facial expressions or facial movements that you make, you want to make them larger than they would be in real life, especially because you can't use words and you want your audience to see you. Now, let's practice using our bodies to pantomime. When we're acting, we have to use all of our body to portray a story on stage. From our facial expressions to our toes, every single part of our body should be telling a story. And we should be focusing on every part of our body at all times. In this exercise, we're going to focus on entrances. When your character enters the room. From the moment a character or from the moment an actor enters the room, their entrance should be believable. Your entrance should show a very specific character at a very specific time. We should show with our bodies the following. 1, the age of the character. 2, the job of the character. 3, what just happened before the entrance. And number 4, the mood of a character. So entrances are very important. For example, if the character you're playing has to enter a classroom and they know they are about to take a very, very difficult test, here are some of the questions you should ask yourself before you enter. Number 1, what does the hallway look like when you're entering the classroom? Number 2, what does the classroom look like? Number 3, where is the student going to look when they enter the classroom? Number 4, what is the student thinking about? Number 5, is the student tense or nervous about taking the exam? Number 6, how can I show that in my body? And number 7, how does the student move when they're entering the classroom? You will create answers to all of these questions in your imagination, but they still need to show in your body. Now let's start our acting exercise. In this acting exercise, we will focus only on entrances. I will give you a situation and you will pantomime what your character would do if they were entering the room. After I describe each situation, make sure you pause the video to give yourself enough time to complete the activity. Think of this as a solo performance. Feel free to set up some teddy bears or objects to serve as your audience. This way, you will always be facing your audience so they can see everything you're doing. This is very important. You may not use any words or sounds in this exercise. This is all about using your bodies to show what you want to show on stage. Use your body fully. Don't forget about facial expressions and gestures. Remember, in pantomime, you want to exaggerate as much as possible. This is to make it clear what your characters are doing since they can't say anything. When you pause the video after I describe the situation, give yourself enough time to think about the character. What did the character just do before entering the room? How does the character feel? How can I show this in my body? What is the character thinking? After answering all of these questions, think about how you will show this in your body. Let me show you an example. My situation is a presidential candidate arrives at a victory party after losing a big election. So one of the things I asked myself before I entered the stage, what was I doing before I arrived at this party? I was checking the results online with my assistant. How do I feel? Extremely disappointed, but I don't want my team to feel sad. What am I thinking? I have to show them everything will be okay. How do I feel? I want them to feel hopeful for next time. Now here are your situations. Remember to pause the video before you start your pantomime to think about what your character is thinking, what just happened before, and how you will show this in your body. And remember, all of these are entrances. So you want to remember to show in your body everything the character is thinking and feeling, but remember you are entering a room. Situation number 1. A teenager gets off a plane to meet a boring relative. Remember, you want to ask yourself, what was this teenager thinking before they get off the plane? How can I show in my body that I'm a teenager? How can I show in my body what I'm feeling? How can I show that this relative is extremely boring? How could I show that I just got off of a plane? How can I show in my body that I've just finished a trip? How can I show in my body what I'm feeling right now? Remember to exaggerate all of your movements. Now pause the video to give yourself enough time to complete the exercise. Situation number 2. A young child enters the kitchen looking for forbidden cookies. Think about how can I show now that I'm a child? How can I show I am not supposed to be entering this room? How could I show that I'm looking for cookies? How can I show what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling right now? Situation number 3. A parent enters a messy living room after a long day of work. Ask yourself, how can I show that I'm a parent? How could I show my age in my body? Number 2, how could I show what just happened? If I've just finished a long day of work, how can I show in my body that I'm physically tired or that I've just finished working? How can I show in my facial expressions how I feel, especially if I'm exhausted? How can I show that the living room is messy? What am I looking at to indicate the living room is messy? What are things I can do with my body that shows the living room is messy? Remember, you don't want to use any words in this exercise. Only use your body to tell the story. Situation number 4. An athlete enters his or her bedroom after several hours of really long practice. If I'm an athlete, how can it show in my body that I'm an athlete? What are some things that I could carry? How could I show that I've just finished practicing? How could I show in my body that there was a very long practice? How could I show in my body that I'm tired from practicing? What am I thinking if I'm an athlete and I've just finished practice? Situation number 6. A babysitter enters after checking on sleeping children. Think about what a babysitter would be thinking right now. How would a babysitter feel if the children are finally asleep? What are some of the things that will show in a babysitter's face if they're trying to keep quiet while the children are sleeping? How could you show in your body that you'd want to be extremely quiet as a babysitter? Situation number 7. A teacher enters a classroom where children are misbehaving. So how can you show in your body that you're a teacher? How can you show in your facial expressions that the classroom is full of misbehaving children? How would I feel if I'm a teacher and I'm entering a classroom and all of the children are misbehaving? Remember to pause the video after every situation description so you can give yourself enough time to fully act out the situation. Great job, actors! It is important to remember our bodies are telling a story every time we step on stage. We want to keep practicing, paying attention to all of the small details that we can use to help us portray a story on stage with our bodies. Pantomime is a great way to practice using our bodies to tell a story without using any words. Now let's review. Number 1, an actor has to pay close attention to their body and what their body is doing to tell a story on stage. Number 2, an actor can use facial expressions and gestures to tell a story on stage. And number 3, pantomime is a form of storytelling where we use only our bodies and our facial expressions to tell a story and not any words. Now for homework. Option number 1. In your journal, you will pick one of the situations you pantomimed in our exercise. You are going to create imaginary answers to the following questions. Number 1, how old is my character? Number 2, what did my character do yesterday? Number 3, how did my character feel before coming on stage? Number 4, what was my character thinking after entering the stage? After writing about these things in your journal, think about some of the ways that you could practice showing this in your body. Try using a mirror to see how it looks. Option number 2, grab anyone in your home to be your audience for your solo pantomime. You are going to repeat this activity and explain the rules of pantomime to your audience. Make sure they know there are no words in pantomime, that you will only use your body to show the story. Also tell them you will only be showing the entrance of your character. Be sure to record this exercise when you do it. This can be added to your video journal. After finishing the solo performance, ask your audience the following questions and see if they can guess. Number 1, how old is my character? Number 2, what is my character doing? Number 3, how does my character feel? Note, it is okay if they don't guess the correct answer. Use this information as a way to tell you more about how your audience is interpreting your movements. Remember, every movement can tell a story. That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me in this wonderful world of theater. I'm Miss Bianca, and I'll see you next time.